The phone vibrated against the white tablecloth, and Naomi watched her husband's face change. It was subtle. Just a flicker in his eyes, a tightening around his mouth. But she saw it. After 8 years of marriage, she knew every expression Cameron wore. "Aren't you going to check that?" she asked, swirling the wine in her glass. "It can wait." Cameron smiled at her, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Today is about us. 8 years, baby." The restaurant buzzed around them with soft conversation and clinking silverware. Cameron had chosen this place, the same spot where he'd proposed. Naomi had dressed carefully tonight, wearing the blue dress he'd always loved. She'd even left work early to get her hair done. But something felt off. It had felt off for months now. The phone vibrated again. Then again. "Cameron, just check it. It might be important." He hesitated, then reached for the phone. As he unlocked it, Naomi saw his face go pale. He quickly turned the screen away, but not before she caught a glimpse of a name. Bridget. His assistant. "I need to take this," he said, standing abruptly. "Work emergency." Naomi watched him walk toward the restaurant's entrance, phone pressed to his ear. She sat there, fingers drumming against the table, that familiar knot forming in her stomach. The same knot that had been there when he started working late. When he started taking calls in other rooms. When he started smelling like perfume that wasn't hers. She looked at his phone on the table. He'd grabbed his work phone but left his personal one behind. Her hand moved before her brain could stop it. She picked it up, knowing his password. Their anniversary date. The screen lit up with messages. All from Bridget. "Missing you already. Can't wait for tonight. Tell her you have a late meeting. I love you." Naomi's hands shook as she scrolled up. Weeks of messages. Months. Pictures. Plans. Promises. Her vision blurred as tears filled her eyes. There were hotel receipts. Restaurant reservations on nights he'd told her he was working. Comments about her, about their marriage, about how he was going to leave her soon. Naomi? She looked up to see Cameron standing there, frozen. His eyes moved from her face to the phone in her hands. All the color drained from his face. "How long?" Her voice came out steady, cold. She barely recognized it as her own. "Naomi, How long, Cameron?" He sank into his chair, running his hands through his hair. Around them, other diners continued their meals, laughing, celebrating, living normal lives. Naomi felt like she was underwater, watching it all from a distance. "A year," he finally said. "Maybe longer." A year. She thought about all the moments in that year. The vacation they'd taken. The holidays with his family. The nights she'd fallen asleep alone while he claimed to be working. All of it had been a lie. "Are you in love with her?" Cameron's silence was answer enough. Naomi stood, legs shaky but holding. She set his phone on the table carefully, like it might explode. "Don't come home tonight." "Naomi, wait. We can talk about this." "Talk." She laughed, a broken sound that made nearby diners glance over. "You've been sleeping with your assistant for a year and you want to talk? It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think." She grabbed her purse. "I want you out of the house. Tonight. I don't care where you go. Go to her. Go to a hotel. I don't care. But don't come home. You're overreacting." The words hit her like a slap. Overreacting. She stared at him, this man she'd built a life with, and saw a stranger. "Overreacting," she repeated. "You cheated on me for a year with someone we both know, someone I've had in our home, and I'm overreacting." Cameron's jaw tightened. "Look, I'm sorry. But things between us haven't been good for a while. You're always tired, always stressed about work. We barely talk anymore. So that made it okay? My being tired from working 60 hours a week at a job I hate to support your business dreams made it okay for you to betray me? That's not fair." "Fair?" Naomi's voice rose. People were definitely staring now. "You want to talk about fair?" She thought about all the times she'd put her dreams on hold. How she'd worked extra hours so he could invest in his company. How she'd smiled through dinner parties with his business partners while he ignored her. How she'd been the perfect wife while he was probably texting Bridget under the table. "I want a divorce," she said clearly. Cameron's eyes widened. "Naomi, don't be ridiculous. Every marriage has problems. Ours has more than problems. It has you and Bridget. That's too many people." She walked out of the restaurant with her head high, even though her legs threatened to give out. She made it to her car before the sobs came. Deep, wrenching sounds that seemed to tear from her chest. She gripped the steering wheel and cried until there was nothing left. When she finally drove home, the house felt different. Empty. Cold. She walked through rooms filled with pictures of their life together. Their wedding photo. vacation snapshots, his college diploma that she'd helped him frame. All of it felt like lies now. She pulled out her phone and called her sister, Tanya. "Hey girl, how was the anniversary dinner?" Naomi's voice cracked. "He's been cheating on me. With Bridget." "What? Cameron? Are you sure?" "I saw the messages. Tanya, it's been going on for over a year." That piece of Tanya's voice hardened. "I'm coming over. Don't you dare tell me no. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Naomi hung up and looked around the living room. Everything here was chosen together. The couch they'd saved up for. The coffee table they'd found at an antique store. The life they'd built together. But it was all built on sand and the tide had just come in. She went upstairs to their bedroom and started pulling Cameron's clothes from the closet. Suits, shirts, shoes. She dumped them in the hallway. Let him figure out what to do with them. She wasn't his maid anymore. She wasn't his anything. Her phone buzzed. "Cameron, we need to talk. Don't do anything crazy. Think about what you're throwing away." She stared at the message. What she was throwing away. He'd thrown away their marriage the first time he'd kissed Bridget. The first time he'd lied. The first time he'd chosen someone else. She blocked his number and kept packing his things. When Tanya arrived, she found Naomi sitting on the bedroom floor, surrounded by boxes of Cameron's belongings, dry-eyed and empty. "Come here," Tanya said, pulling her into a hug. "I should have known," Naomi whispered. "All the signs were there. Don't do that. Don't blame yourself for his choices." But Naomi couldn't help it. She thought about every moment she'd ignored her gut. Every time she'd pushed away the doubt. She'd chosen to trust him and he'd chosen to destroy that trust. "What do I do now?" she asked. Tanya squeezed her hand. "Now, you get up. You get the best lawyer you can find. And you take him for everything he's got." Naomi nodded slowly. She'd loved Cameron since college. She'd built her entire adult life around him. But that life was over now. Tomorrow she'd start figuring out what came next. Tonight she just needed to survive the pain. The lawyer's office was cold and impersonal, just like Naomi felt. She sat across from Patricia Monroe, a divorce attorney with a reputation for being tough. "So, he's been having an affair for over a year," Patricia said, taking notes. "Do you have proof?" "Screenshots of their messages. Pictures. Everything." Naomi pushed her phone across the desk. Patricia scrolled through, her expression neutral. "This is good. Very good. With this evidence, we can push for a favorable settlement. How much are we talking in terms of assets?" "The house is in both our names. His company is worth about $2 million now. I helped build it. I worked 2 jobs while he got it off the ground." "Okay. We'll make sure you get what you're entitled to." Naomi nodded, feeling numb. 2 days had passed since the anniversary dinner. Cameron had shown up at the house yesterday, finding his belongings in boxes on the front porch. He tried to talk to her through the door. She hadn't answered. "One more thing," Patricia said. "Are you prepared for this to get ugly? Men like your husband don't usually go quietly." "I don't care. I just want it done." Over the next few weeks, Naomi learned that Patricia was right. Cameron fought everything. He claimed the company was his alone, that her contribution meant nothing. He tried to argue that she'd abandoned the marriage by locking him out. His lawyer painted her as unstable and controlling. But Naomi had the messages. She had proof of his spending on hotels and gifts for Bridget. She had evidence of him using their joint credit cards for his affair. The worst part wasn't the legal battle. It was facing people. At work, everyone knew. Someone had seen the anniversary dinner disaster. The story spread like fire. Some people were kind, bringing her coffee and asking if she needed anything. Others whispered when she passed. She ran into Cameron's mother at the grocery store. "Naomi, sweetheart," Mrs. Bennett said, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "Cameron told me what happened. Don't you think you're being a bit harsh? Every marriage has rough patches." Naomi stared at her former mother-in-law. "Did he tell you about Bridget? About the year of lying?" "Well, yes, but then you know this isn't a rough patch. This is over." She walked away, leaving Mrs. Bennett standing there. At home alone, the silence was crushing. She'd always been social, always surrounded by friends. But their friends had been Cameron's friends first. Most of them sided with him. Or worse, they tried to play neutral, inviting them both to events as if nothing had happened. Naomi stopped going out. She went to work, came home, and existed. She lost 15 pounds in a month. Food tasted like nothing. Sleep was impossible. She'd lie awake replaying every moment of her marriage, looking for the exact second it had all gone wrong. Tanya came over every few days, forcing her to eat, making her shower, keeping her going. "You need to see someone," Tanya said one evening. "A therapist. This is eating you alive." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You're a shell. Look at you." Naomi caught her reflection in the hallway mirror. Tanya was right. She looked hollow. Dark circles under her eyes. Clothes hanging loose. Hair pulled back in a messy bun because she couldn't be bothered to style it. "He's out there living his life with her," Naomi said bitterly. "And I'm falling apart." "Then stop falling apart. Stop letting him win." But it wasn't that simple. The pain was physical. An ache in her chest that never went away. She'd catch herself reaching for her phone to text him about something funny, then remember. She'd make coffee for 2 out of habit. She'd wake up in the middle of the night reaching for him, finding empty space. 3 months into the divorce proceedings, Naomi saw them together. She was leaving the courthouse after a hearing, and there they were, sitting in Cameron's car in the parking lot. Bridget was in the passenger seat and they were laughing about something. Laughing. While Naomi's life was in pieces, they were laughing. Bridget looked happy. She wore expensive clothes now. New jewelry. Cameron had clearly been spending money on her. The money he'd claimed they didn't have when Naomi wanted to go back to school. The money that was supposedly all tied up in the business. Naomi stood there, frozen, watching them. Cameron leaned over and kissed Bridget. The same way he used to kiss Naomi. Nothing special about it. Just another kiss in what was probably hundreds by now. That night, Naomi hit rock bottom. She sat on her bathroom floor, crying so hard she thought she might break. She thought about all the years she'd wasted. All the dreams she'd put aside. She'd wanted to start her own business once. She'd wanted to travel. She'd wanted things beyond being Cameron's wife. And she'd given all of that up for what? For a man who'd thrown her away like trash. For a marriage that had been dying while she tried to keep it alive. Her phone rang. "Cameron." She answered before she could stop herself. "What do you want?" "Naomi, this has gone on long enough. Let's talk. We can work something out." "Work something out? You want me to just forgive you? Take you back?" "I'm not saying that. But we don't need to destroy each other. We had good years together. Can't we end this with some dignity?" Dignity. Coming from a man who'd cheated with his assistant and now flaunted her around town. "You want dignity?" Naomi's voice was ice. "Here's what I want. I want every dollar I put into your company. I want my half of everything we built. And then I want you out of my life forever." "You're being unreasonable." "No. I'm being fair. You broke our vows. You lied for a year. And now you're going to pay for it." She hung up and blocked his number again. He'd find a way to contact her through lawyers anyway. 4 months after the anniversary dinner, Naomi sat in Patricia's office signing papers. The divorce was almost final. She'd gotten the house and a substantial settlement. Cameron's company valuation had been lower than expected, but she still got her share. "Congratulations," Patricia said. "You're almost free." Free. The word felt strange. Naomi had been part of Cameron and Naomi for so long, she didn't know who just Naomi was anymore. She drove home through streets that felt unfamiliar, even though she'd lived in the city for years. Everything looked different now. Harsher. Colder. Or maybe that was just her. At home, she looked around the house. It was too big for one person. Too quiet. Too full of memories. She needed to sell it. Start over somewhere new. But the thought of starting over felt impossible. She was 33 years old and starting from scratch. No husband. No shared dreams. Just her and a pile of broken pieces. Tanya called that evening. "How'd it go?" "It's done." "Well, almost done. One more hearing next month and it's final." "Good. Now you can move on." Move on. Everyone kept saying that like it was simple. Like she could just decide to be over it and be done. "Tanya, I don't know how to move on. I don't even know who I am without him." "Then it's time to find out." After they hung up, Naomi sat in the silence. She thought about the girl she'd been in college. Before Cameron. She'd been ambitious. Creative. Full of ideas. She'd wanted to change the world. When had she stopped being that girl? She pulled out an old journal from college and flipped through it. Pages of dreams and goals. Plans for a business. Sketches of logos. Marketing ideas. She'd been so excited about the future once. That night, Naomi made a decision. She wasn't going to let Cameron's betrayal define the rest of her life. She wasn't going to be the bitter, broken woman people whispered about. She was going to become someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who didn't need anyone to complete her. She didn't know how yet. But she would figure it out. The divorce would be final in 30 days. And then her new life would begin. The therapist's office smelled like lavender and had soft music playing in the background. Naomi sat on a comfortable chair, hands folded in her lap, wondering if this was a mistake. "Tell me what brought you here," Dr. Shaw said. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and an easy smile. "My divorce was finalized 2 weeks ago." Naomi's voice was steady. She'd practiced not crying about it. "I just want to make sure I'm dealing with it in a healthy way." "And how are you dealing with it?" That was the question, wasn't it? Since the divorce became final, Naomi had thrown herself into work. She came in early, stayed late, volunteered for extra projects. Anything to avoid going home to that empty house. "I'm keeping busy," she said. "Busy isn't the same as healing." Naomi looked out the window. "I don't know how to heal from this. He was my whole world for 8 years. Now he's gone and I'm just empty. Do you want him back?" "No." The answer came quickly, surprising even Naomi. "No, I don't. I'm angry at him. But more than that, I'm angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. For wasting so much time. Time with someone you loved isn't wasted, even if it ended badly. But it felt wasted. Every anniversary. Every vacation. Every quiet morning drinking coffee together. All of it was tainted now by knowing he'd been lying, planning, betraying her. "I want to move forward," Naomi said. "I just don't know how." Over the next few weeks, Dr. Shaw helped Naomi work through the anger and pain. They talked about her marriage, her childhood, her dreams. Things Naomi hadn't thought about in years. "What did you want to be?" Dr. Shaw asked one session. "Before you got married. What were your goals?" Naomi thought back to college. "I wanted to start my own marketing and consulting business. I was studying business and communications. I had all these ideas for helping small companies grow their brands." What happened to those dreams? Cameron happened. His company needed help and I put my plans aside to support him. I thought we'd do it together, you know? Build something as a team. But it was always his company. His dreams. I was just support staff. "Do you still want to have your own business?" The question hit Naomi hard. Did she? She'd pushed those dreams so far down, she'd forgotten they existed. "Maybe," she said slowly. "But I wouldn't even know where to start now. That was 10 years ago. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now." Naomi left that session feeling something she hadn't felt in months. A tiny spark of possibility. That night, she pulled out her old college materials. Business plans she'd written. Market research she'd done. Ideas she'd had for helping businesses grow their online presence and brand recognition. Some of it was outdated. Social media had changed. Marketing strategies had evolved. But the core ideas were still good. She opened her laptop and started researching. What would it take to start a consulting business now? What skills did she need to update? What did the market look like? The more she read, the more excited she became. This could actually work. She had savings from the divorce settlement. She had experience from working all those years. She had connections from Cameron's business events, even if most of those people had sided with him. She could do this. Over the next few months, Naomi transformed her life. She took online courses in digital marketing, social media management, and brand development. She studied at night after work, on weekends, any free moment she had. She joined networking groups for women entrepreneurs. At first, it was terrifying. Walking into rooms full of confident, successful women made her feel small. But slowly she found her voice again. "What brings you here?" a woman named Gabrielle asked at one meeting. "I'm thinking about starting a consulting business," Naomi said. "I'm just researching right now." Don't just research. Do it. The best way to learn is by jumping in. Naomi took that advice to heart. She created a website. Basic at first, just a landing page with her services and contact information. She designed a logo, choosing colors that felt strong and confident. Blues and silvers. Nothing soft or apologetic. Her first client came through a former colleague. A small startup needed help with their branding and social media strategy. They couldn't afford much, but Naomi didn't care. She poured everything into that project. She stayed up late creating content calendars. She redesigned their social media profiles. She developed a cohesive brand voice that told their story. When they launched, their engagement tripled in the first month. The owner was thrilled and referred her to 2 other businesses. Naomi quit her job 6 months after the divorce was final. It was terrifying, but also liberating. She was betting on herself for the first time in her life. She sold the house. Too many memories. Too much pain. She found a small apartment downtown, closer to the business district. It was modern and sleek, nothing like the suburban house she'd shared with Cameron. She decorated it in ways he would have hated. Bold colors. Modern art. Her style, not his. The first night in her new apartment, Naomi stood on the balcony looking out at the city lights. She felt different. Lighter. Like she'd shed a heavy coat she'd been wearing for years. She wasn't over the betrayal. Some days she still woke up angry. But she was building something new. Something that was entirely hers. Her business grew slowly but steadily. She took on more clients. Small businesses mostly, people who needed help but couldn't afford big agencies. Naomi gave them personal attention and creative solutions. She started a social media presence for her business, sharing marketing tips and brand-building advice. Her following grew. People responded to her authentic approach and practical strategies. Tanya came over for dinner one evening, bringing wine and Chinese food. "Look at you," she said, hugging Naomi tight. "You're glowing." "I feel different," Naomi admitted. "Like I'm finally becoming who I was supposed to be." "This is who you were always supposed to be." Cameron just got in the way. They ate dinner on the balcony, talking about everything and nothing. Naomi realized she was laughing. Really laughing, not the fake laugh she'd been giving people for months. "Have you heard anything about Cameron?" Tanya asked carefully. "No. I blocked him on everything." "Why?" "Just wondering. Someone mentioned seeing him at a bar downtown looking rough. Apparently, things with Bridget aren't going well." Naomi felt a small surge of satisfaction, then pushed it away. She didn't want to waste energy on Cameron. Good or bad, he wasn't her problem anymore. "I don't care what he's doing," she said. "I'm focused on my own life now." And she meant it. For the first time since the divorce, she wasn't looking back. She was looking forward. That night, after Tanya left, Naomi updated her business plan. She had goals now. Real, concrete goals. She wanted to grow her client base. She wanted to hire help. She wanted to be featured in business magazines. She wanted to speak at conferences. She wanted to build something so successful that everyone would know her name. Not as Cameron's ex-wife. Not as the woman who'd been cheated on. But as Naomi Porter, successful entrepreneur. She was just getting started. 2 years after the divorce, Naomi barely recognized her own life. She stood in her office, a real office now with glass walls and modern furniture, looking at the team she'd built. 5 employees, all talented, all dedicated. Her consulting firm had become one of the most sought after in the city. The Henderson account just signed, her assistant, Felicia, announced. They want the full package. Branding, social media, content creation. Naomi smiled. Henderson Industries was a major score. A mid-sized company with real money and influence. Landing them meant her firm was playing in the big leagues now. "Set up a kickoff meeting for next week," Naomi said. "I want to hear exactly what they're looking for." After Felicia left, Naomi sat at her desk and pulled up her revenue reports. The numbers still amazed her. She'd gone from struggling to pay rent to making more in a month than she used to make in a year. Her firm had a reputation for getting results. Companies that worked with her saw real growth. She'd also changed physically. The stress weight she'd lost during the divorce had been replaced with muscle. She'd started working out as therapy and found she loved it. She ran every morning, hit the gym 3 times a week, and felt stronger than ever. Her wardrobe had changed too. Gone were the conservative outfits she'd worn to please Cameron. Now she dressed in bold colors and modern cuts. Professional but powerful. She'd cut her hair shorter, added highlights. When she looked in the mirror, she saw a woman who looked confident and successful. Because she was. That afternoon, Naomi had lunch with Gabrielle, the entrepreneur who'd encouraged her to jump in 2 years ago. They'd become close friends, meeting regularly to talk business and life. "You're speaking at the regional business conference next month, right?" Gabrielle asked over salads. "Yeah. I'm doing a session on brand transformation and digital presence." "That's huge. That conference gets thousands of attendees. All the major players will be there." Naomi felt a flutter of nerves. Public speaking had terrified her once. But she'd worked on it, taken classes, practiced. Now she actually enjoyed it. There was power in standing on a stage, sharing knowledge, inspiring people. "I'm excited," she admitted. "This could open a lot of doors." "It will. You're going to crush it." They talked about their businesses, shared referrals, discussed challenges. This was what Naomi loved about her new life. She was surrounded by people who lifted her up, who challenged her to be better, who celebrated her wins. "How's your love life?" Gabrielle asked with a grin. "Please tell me you're at least dating." Naomi laughed. "No time. The business keeps me busy." Girl, you need to make time. You're gorgeous, successful, and single. Men should be lining up. I'm not interested in men right now. I'm interested in growth. It was true. She'd been asked out a few times. Nice men. Successful men. But she'd turned them all down. The thought of trusting someone again, of being vulnerable, made her stomach tight. She'd rather focus on her business. That couldn't betray her. That evening, Naomi attended a networking event for local business owners. She worked the room with ease now, no longer the nervous newcomer. People knew her name. They asked for her card. They wanted to work with her. She was talking to a potential client when she saw him. Cameron. He was across the room, looking rough around the edges. His suit was expensive but wrinkled. He needed a haircut. He looked tired, older than his 35 years. Their eyes met. His widened in shock. He clearly hadn't expected to see her here. Naomi turned back to her conversation without missing a beat. She wouldn't let him affect her. Not here. Not anymore. But she was aware of him watching her for the rest of the evening. She ignored him completely, laughing with colleagues, exchanging business cards, being the professional she'd become. When she finally left, he was waiting by the door. Naomi, can we talk? She looked at him coolly. I don't think we have anything to discuss. You look different. I am different. I heard about your business. Sounds like it's doing well. It is. She moved to walk past him. Wait. He touched her arm. She stepped back immediately. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I made mistakes. Mistakes. Naomi's voice was sharp. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. What you did was make choices. Hundreds of them. Every day for a year. I know. I was stupid. Things with Bridget, they didn't work out. That's not my problem. I'm not asking you to care. I just wanted you to know that I regret it. All of it. You were the best thing in my life and I threw it away. Naomi studied him. 2 years ago, hearing these words would have destroyed her. She'd imagined this conversation hundreds of times. In her fantasies, she'd either told him off spectacularly or he'd groveled until she felt vindicated. But now, looking at him, she felt nothing. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Just nothing. I appreciate the apology, she said carefully. But it doesn't change anything. What's done is done. I've moved on. Have you? Because you're here alone. By choice. I'm alone by choice. I built a business. I have a life I love. I don't need anyone to complete me. Certainly not you. She walked away, feeling his eyes on her back. She didn't look back. In her car, Naomi sat for a moment, processing. She'd seen Cameron. He'd apologized. And she'd felt nothing. That realization was more powerful than any revenge could have been. She didn't need him to suffer. She just needed to be happy. And she was. Later that week, Naomi received an invitation to speak at a national conference in 3 months. It was a huge opportunity. The conference drew business leaders from across the country. She'd be on panels with CEOs and industry experts. She accepted immediately. Over the next few months, Naomi's business continued to grow. She landed 3 major accounts. She was featured in a local business magazine with a full spread about her transformation from betrayed wife to successful entrepreneur. The article didn't shy away from her story. She'd been honest in the interview about the divorce, the betrayal, the struggle to rebuild. But she'd focused on the growth, not the pain. I could have let betrayal destroy me, she was quoted as saying. Instead, I let it refine me. I learned who I was without someone else defining me. And I discovered I was stronger than I ever knew. The article went viral in local business circles. She got calls from people wanting to work with her, from women who'd gone through similar situations asking for advice, from organizations wanting her to speak. Naomi started mentoring other women going through divorces, helping them find their footing and rebuild their lives. She knew what that darkness felt like. If she could help someone else find the light, she would. One afternoon, Tanya called her, voice excited. Did you see? See what? Cameron's company is struggling. But they lost a major contract. There are rumors about bankruptcy. Naomi felt a twinge of something. Not quite sympathy but not satisfaction either. That's unfortunate, she said neutrally. Unfortunate? Girl, this is karma. He's getting what he deserves. Maybe. Or maybe he was just facing the consequences of his choices. Either way, it wasn't her concern anymore. That night, Naomi worked on her presentation for the upcoming conference. She practiced her speech, refined her slides, prepared for questions. This was her focus. Her future. Whatever was happening with Cameron was his problem to solve. She had her own success to build. The conference center was massive, filled with thousands of business professionals from across the country. Naomi walked through the main hall, her heels clicking on the polished floor, feeling the buzz of energy in the air. This was it. The Regional Business Conference. The biggest event of her career so far. She was scheduled to speak in 2 hours on a panel about brand transformation in the digital age. Her face was on banners outside the main auditorium. She'd made it to the big stage. Naomi Porter? A woman approached, hand extended. I'm Christine Wu. I've been following your work. Your transformation story is incredible. They talked for several minutes about strategy and growth. Christine ran a venture capital firm and was interested in companies like Naomi's. She handed over her card. Let's talk about potential investment opportunities, Christine said. I think you could scale much bigger. As Christine walked away, Naomi stood there, slightly stunned. A venture capitalist wanted to talk about investing in her company. 2 years ago, she'd been broken and alone. Now this. Naomi? The voice made her freeze. She turned slowly. Cameron stood there looking shocked. He was wearing a suit that had seen better days, his face drawn and tired. Nothing like the confident man she'd been married to. What are you doing here? She asked, keeping her voice neutral. I'm trying to save my company. We're looking for investors, new contracts. This conference is crucial for us. He looked her up and down. You look incredible. Thank you. She kept her responses short, polite but distant. I saw you're speaking on the main stage. That's amazing. I always knew you had it in you. Naomi almost laughed. He'd always known? He'd spent 8 years treating her dreams like hobbies, like things she'd get to eventually. He'd never taken her seriously. I need to go prepare for my panel, she said. Wait, can we get coffee? Catch up. I don't think that's a good idea. Please. Just coffee. As old friends. They weren't friends. They'd never been friends. They'd been husband and wife, and then he'd destroyed that. There was no friendship in the ruins. I'm very busy this week, Naomi said. I'm sure you understand. She walked away before he could respond. Her hands were shaking slightly. Seeing him had affected her more than she wanted to admit. Not because she had feelings for him, but because it reminded her of how far she'd come. In the bathroom, she took a moment to center herself. She looked at her reflection. Professional makeup. Hair styled perfectly. A designer suit that fit her like armor. She looked successful because she was successful. Cameron didn't get to shake her confidence. Not today. Her panel was at 2 o'clock. She sat on stage with 3 other experts in branding and marketing. The auditorium was packed. At least 500 people filled the seats. When it was her turn to speak, Naomi stood and walked to the center of the stage. She scanned the crowd and spotted Cameron sitting in the back row. He was watching her intently. She looked away and focused on the audience. 4 years ago, I lost everything, she began. My marriage ended. My identity was shattered. I didn't know who I was without someone else defining me. The room was silent, everyone listening. But in that loss, I found something more valuable. I found myself. I discovered that I was capable of more than I'd ever imagined. I built a business from nothing. I created a brand that resonated with people. And I did it by being authentic, by being vulnerable, and by refusing to let my past define my future. She talked about brand transformation, about the importance of authenticity, about how companies needed to tell their true stories to connect with customers. She used her own journey as a case study, showing how she'd built her business on transparency and genuine connection. The audience was engaged, taking notes, nodding along. When she finished, they applauded loudly. Several people stood. During the Q&A, hands shot up across the auditorium. How did you build confidence after such a devastating loss? Someone asked. One day at a time, Naomi answered honestly. I didn't wake up confident. I built confidence through action. Every client I helped. Every goal I reached. Every time I did something that scared me. Confidence comes from proving to yourself that you can do hard things. After the panel, people swarmed her. Business cards. Questions. Requests for consultations. She spent an hour talking to potential clients and admirers. Cameron hovered at the edge of the crowd, waiting. When the crowd finally thinned, he approached. That was powerful, he said. You were always a good speaker, but that was something else. Thank you. I meant what I said before. About regretting everything. Seeing you up there, seeing what you've become. I realized what I lost. Naomi looked at him carefully. What you lost was a woman who loved you, who supported you, who put your dreams ahead of her own. What I lost was someone who didn't value me. We both came out of that divorce. But only one of us grew from it. That's not fair. Fair? Naomi's voice was calm but firm. You made your choices. Now you live with them. I made mine. And I'm thriving. That's not about you. It's about me choosing myself for once. I just thought, maybe we could talk. Really talk. I'm going through a hard time and... Stop. Naomi held up her hand. I'm not your friend. I'm not your therapist. I'm not your anything. You're going through a hard time? Figure it out. The same way I had to when you destroyed our marriage. She walked away, feeling lighter with each step. She'd said what needed to be said. She didn't owe him comfort or support or anything else. That evening there was a networking dinner for speakers and VIPs. Naomi sat at a table with other successful entrepreneurs, discussing market trends and opportunities. She felt at home here, among people who were building things, creating value, pushing boundaries. Across the room she saw Cameron trying to network. He looked desperate, pushing his business cards on people who seemed uninterested. He caught her looking and gave a small, sad smile. She looked away. The next morning, Naomi had breakfast with Christine Wu, the venture capitalist. I looked into your company, Christine said. I'm impressed. You've built something sustainable and scalable. I'd like to talk about a potential investment. They discussed numbers, growth strategies, expansion possibilities. By the end of breakfast, Christine had offered to invest $2 million in exchange for a minority stake in the company. $2 million. The same amount Cameron's company had been worth at its peak. The company she'd helped build but got nothing from except a divorce settlement. Now she was building something worth that much on her own. Something no one could take from her. I'll have my lawyer draw up the papers, Naomi said, shaking Christine's hand. As she left the restaurant, she saw Cameron sitting in the hotel lobby. He looked like he'd been waiting for her. Naomi, please. Just 5 minutes. She stopped. Not because she owed him anything, but because she wanted to hear what he had to say. Not for him. For herself. To prove that his words couldn't hurt her anymore. 5 minutes, she agreed. They sat in a quiet corner of the lobby. Cameron looked at his hands, then at her. My company is failing, he said quietly. Bridget and I are getting divorced. Everything I built is falling apart. And I look at you and you're thriving. You're everything I wish I could be. I'm sorry your company is struggling, Naomi said. And she meant it. Not because she cared about him, but because she wasn't bitter anymore. But that's not my problem to solve. I know. I just thought, maybe you could give me advice. You turned your life around. How did you do it? Naomi considered him. 2 years ago, she would have felt satisfaction at his struggles. Now she just felt tired. I did it by letting go, she said. By accepting that the past was gone and couldn't be changed. By focusing on what I could control. By betting on myself instead of waiting for someone else to value me. Could you help me? Professionally, I mean. Your firm could. No. Her answer was immediate and final. I don't mix business with personal history. And you and I have too much history. Naomi, your 5 minutes are up. She stood. I hope you figure things out. I really do. But I can't be part of that process. Goodbye, Cameron. This time when she walked away she knew it was the last time. She'd closed that door completely. Whatever happened to him next wasn't her concern. She had her own future to build. And it was looking bright. Cameron sat in his office, staring at the stack of past due notices on his desk. His company, the one he'd built from nothing, was drowning. Major clients had left. Contracts had fallen through. The money was gone. He tried everything. New marketing strategies. Price cuts. Desperate networking. Nothing worked. The business world had moved on and he hadn't kept up. Part of him knew why. When Naomi had been around, she'd handled the marketing, the branding, the client relationships. She'd been good at it. She'd made people feel valued and understood. After the divorce, he tried to do it himself. But he didn't have her touch, her insight. He'd hired Bridget to help, thinking she could fill that role. But Bridget didn't have Naomi's skills or dedication. She was more interested in the lifestyle than the work. Their marriage was falling apart too. The excitement of the affair had faded, replaced by reality. Bridget wasn't the perfect woman he'd imagined. She was demanding and expensive. She complained constantly about his working hours, his stress, his inability to buy her the things she wanted. Last night they'd had another fight. She'd thrown a lamp at him, screaming about how he'd promised her a better life. How she'd given up everything to be with him. How he was a failure. She was right about that last part. He was a failure. He'd destroyed a good marriage for an affair that was now a bad marriage. He'd let his company decline while chasing fantasies. He'd lost everything that mattered. And worst of all, he'd lost Naomi. Seeing her at the conference had shaken him. She'd been glowing, confident, powerful. She'd stood on that stage and talked about transformation, and everyone had listened like she was speaking directly to them. She'd become everything he'd once been: successful, respected, in demand. While he'd become a cautionary tale. He pulled up her website on his computer. Porter Consulting. It was sleek and professional. Client testimonials filled the page. Case studies showing real results. Awards and recognition. She'd done in 4 years what had taken him 10. And she'd done it better. He scrolled through her social media. Pictures of her at events, speaking engagements with her team. She looked happy in every photo. Genuinely happy, not the forced smile she'd worn in their marriage photos. Had she ever been happy with him? He tried to remember. In the early days, maybe. Before he'd started taking her for granted. Before he'd started seeing her support as something owed rather than something given. His phone buzzed. "Bridget. I'm leaving," the text said. "I'm done with this. With you. I want a divorce." He stared at the message. He should feel something. Sad. Relieved. Angry. But he just felt numb. Another text came through. From his business partner, Trevor. "We need to talk. The Henderson account called. They're going with Porter Consulting instead. That was our last shot." Cameron closed his eyes. Henderson had been his last hope. The account that could have saved his company. And they'd chosen Naomi instead. Of course they had. She was better at this than he ever was. That evening, Cameron drove past Naomi's office building. The lights were on. Through the windows he could see her team working. Busy. Productive. Successful. He sat in his car watching for almost an hour. He saw Naomi laughing with someone. Saw her giving a presentation. Saw the energy and passion in the way she moved. He'd killed that passion once. When they were married, she'd had ideas and dreams. He'd dismissed them. Told her to be patient. Told her his company had to come first. He'd taken her light and dimmed it. Now it was shining brighter than ever. Just without him. Over the next few weeks, Cameron became obsessed. He read every article about her. Watched her social media like a stalker. Learned everything about her success. She was speaking at another conference next month. She'd been featured in a national business magazine. She just landed a major investment deal. Everything she touched turned to gold. While everything he touched turned to dust. He started showing up at events he knew she'd attend. Networking mixers. Business lunches. Industry panels. He told himself he was there for business. But really he was there for a glimpse of her. She was always polite when she saw him. Cool but civil. She never made scenes or spoke badly about him. She just treated him like any other casual acquaintance. It was that indifference that killed him. She didn't hate him. She didn't care about him at all. He was just someone she used to know. Trevor finally confronted him at the office. "You're obsessed with your ex-wife and it's affecting the business. You need to let it go." "I'm not obsessed. You Google her name 20 times a day. You've shown up at 3 events in the past 2 weeks just because she was there. You're obsessed. I just want to talk to her. Really talk. If I could explain." "Explain what? That you cheated on her for a year? That you threw away your marriage for an affair that lasted less than 3 years? What explanation makes that okay?" Cameron didn't have an answer. That night he wrote Naomi an email. He poured everything into it. His regrets. His realization of what he'd lost. His acknowledgement of his mistakes. He told her he understood if she never forgave him, but he needed her to know that he knew he'd destroyed the best thing in his life. He sent it at 2 a.m. She never responded. A week later he tried again. Different approach. He asked if they could meet for coffee. Told her he needed her advice professionally. Offered to pay her consulting rates just for an hour of her time. Again no response. He showed up at another networking event where he knew she'd be. This time she saw him and immediately turned to walk the other way. He followed her. "Naomi, please. Just give me a minute." She stopped and turned to face him. "What do you want, Cameron?" "I want to talk. Really talk. About us. About what happened. There is no us. There hasn't been for 4 years." I know. But I need you to understand." "Understand what? That you're sorry? That you made mistakes?" "I heard that at the conference." "Message received. Now leave me alone." "I can't. I see you everywhere. I see what you've become and I realize." "You realize what? That I was valuable? That I had potential? That I could have been a partner instead of a support system?" Her voice was sharp now. I'm glad you finally figured that out. But it's too late. I've moved on. You need to do the same. How? How do I move on when everything reminds me of you? When I see your success and know I could have been part of it? That's not my problem. Her voice softened slightly. Cameron, you need help. Real help. From a therapist, not from me. You're struggling and I'm sorry for that. But I can't be your solution. I can't fix you. I did that for 8 years and it got me nowhere. I'm not asking you to fix me. I'm just asking for a chance to what? Apologize again? I've accepted your apology. To explain? I don't need explanations. To try again? That's never happening. So what are you asking for? He didn't know. He just knew that seeing her made him feel something other than the numbness that had become his life. I don't know, he admitted. I just know that I lost everything and you found everything and it feels like the universe is punishing me. The universe isn't punishing you. You're facing consequences. There's a difference. She walked away. This time he didn't follow. But he couldn't let go. Every time he saw her name in an article or at an event, something in him cracked a little more. She'd become successful. She'd become happy. She'd become everything without him. And he'd become nothing without her. The realization was crushing. For 8 years he'd thought he was the star and she was supporting cast. Now he understood. She'd been holding everything together. When she left, it all fell apart. He'd thrown away the best thing in his life for a temporary thrill. And now he was paying the price. But payment wasn't enough. Because no matter how much he suffered, it wouldn't undo what he'd done. It wouldn't bring back the woman who'd loved him. It wouldn't fix the life he'd destroyed. All he could do was watch from a distance as she lived the life she deserved. The life she would have lived sooner if he hadn't held her back. The regret was suffocating. But it was all he had left. Naomi sat at a networking event, talking to a group of small business owners about branding strategies. She loved these events. The energy. The exchange of ideas. The connections. Then she saw Cameron across the room. Again. This was the 4th event in 3 weeks where he'd shown up. It wasn't a coincidence anymore. He was following her. She excused herself from the conversation and walked to the bathroom. When she came back out, he was waiting in the hallway. We need to talk, he said. No, we don't. Naomi, please. I know I've made mistakes. Mistakes? Plural? Try betrayals. What? Years of deception. She kept her voice low but firm. And whatever you're doing showing up everywhere I am, it needs to stop. I'm not following you. I'm just trying to network, same as you. At events you never attended before? In circles you never cared about? Don't insult my intelligence. He had the grace to look ashamed. I just want to talk. Have dinner with me. One dinner. I'll explain everything and then I'll leave you alone. You've already explained. You cheated. You're sorry. Your life is falling apart. I heard it all. What else is there to say? I want to tell you how much you meant to me. How much you still mean to me. Naomi stared at him. I meant so much to you that you slept with your assistant for a year? That you lied to my face every day? That you took my support and investment in your company and gave me nothing in return? It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You used me. You took everything I had to give and when I had nothing left, you found someone new to take from. That's not true. I loved you. You loved what I did for you. You loved having someone to cook your meals and attend your events and make you look good. You loved the support and the stability. But you didn't love me. If you had, you wouldn't have betrayed me. Cameron's face crumpled. You're right. I know you're right. But I've changed. I've realized. Good. I'm glad you've had revelations. That's great for you. But it doesn't change anything between us. There is no us. There will never be an us again. What if I could prove I've changed? What if I could show you? I don't want to see it. I don't care if you've changed. I don't care if you're different now. You're not my responsibility. You're not my concern. We're divorced. That means we're done. But I need you. The words hung in the air. Naomi felt something shift inside her. Not sympathy. Something colder. That's your problem, she said quietly. You spent 8 years of marriage not needing me. Not valuing me. Not seeing me as anything more than convenient. Now that I'm successful, now that I'm thriving, suddenly you need me? No. You don't get to need me now. It's not about your success. Yes, it is. You never looked at me the way you're looking at me now when I was working 2 jobs to support your dreams. You never chased me when I was tired and stressed and begging for your attention. You only want me now because I'm something you can't have. That's not fair. Fair? Naomi laughed, a bitter sound. You keep using that word like you know what it means. It wasn't fair when you cheated. It wasn't fair when you flaunted Bridget around town. It wasn't fair when you tried to lowball me in the divorce. Don't talk to me about fair. She started to walk away. He grabbed her arm. She looked down at his hand, then up at his face. Let go. He did immediately. I'm sorry. I'm desperate here, Naomi. My company is dying. Bridget left me. I have nothing. And you think I should care? You think your suffering somehow balances what you did to me? No. I just thought, we were married for 8 years. That has to mean something. It did mean something. Past tense. Now it's just history. Bad history that I've moved past. Have you? Because you seem pretty angry for someone who's moved on. Naomi took a breath. He was right about one thing. She was angry. Not because she still cared about him, but because he wouldn't leave her alone. Because he kept showing up and demanding her attention and energy. You want to know if I've moved on? She looked him straight in the eye. I have. Completely. I don't think about you. I don't wonder what you're doing. I don't care if you're happy or sad or struggling. You're just someone I used to know. Someone who hurt me. Someone I learned from. That's it. I don't believe you. I don't care what you believe. Believe whatever helps you sleep at night. But the truth is I'm done. I was done 4 years ago when I signed those divorce papers. I'm even more done now. Every time you show up, every time you try to talk to me, you're just wasting both our time. I still love you. The words should have meant something. Once they would have meant everything. Now they were just noise. No, you don't. You love the idea of me. Or maybe you love what I've become. But you don't love me. You never really did. If you had, none of this would have happened. People make mistakes. Stop calling it a mistake. A mistake is an accident. What you did was a choice. Hundreds of choices. Every time you texted her. Every time you lied to me. Every time you looked me in the eye and pretended everything was fine. Those were choices. Cameron's shoulders sagged. What do you want me to say? Nothing. I want you to say nothing. I want you to leave me alone. I want you to stop showing up at my events. I want you to stop emailing me. I want you to stop acting like we have any connection beyond legal documents. I can't just turn off my feelings. Then that's your problem to solve. Go to therapy. Talk to friends. Write in a journal. Do whatever you need to do. Just stop making it my problem. She walked past him back into the main event space. Her hands were shaking. Not from fear or sadness. From anger and frustration. When would he get the message? She found Gabrielle in the crowd. You okay? Gabrielle asked. You look upset. Cameron's here. Again. He won't leave me alone. Want me to have him removed? I know the organizers. Naomi considered it. But that felt like giving him too much power. Like he could still affect her events and her life. No. I'm not letting him ruin this for me. He's not worth it. But for the rest of the night, she was aware of him watching her. It was uncomfortable and invasive. She wanted to leave, but that would mean he won. So she stayed. She networked. She smiled. She acted like he wasn't there. When she finally got home, she poured herself a glass of wine and sat on her balcony. The city lights spread out below her, peaceful and beautiful. She thought about Cameron's words. That he still loved her. That he needed her. That he'd changed. Maybe he had changed. Maybe he really did regret everything. But it didn't matter. Because she'd changed too. She'd become someone who didn't need him. Someone who didn't want him. She'd built a life that was entirely hers. A business. Friendships. Purpose. And she wasn't going to let him disrupt that. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I know you don't want to hear from me, but I needed to say this. You were always too good for me. I see that now. I'm sorry I didn't see it then. I'm sorry for everything. I hope you find happiness. Real happiness. Cameron. She read the message twice, then deleted it. She didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Tomorrow she had a meeting with Christine about the investment. Next week she was speaking at another conference. Next month she was launching a new service line. Her life was full of forward momentum. Cameron was stuck in the past. And that was exactly where he'd stay. She blocked the unknown number and went to bed. She had a future to build. And it didn't include him. The magazine photographer adjusted Naomi's position for the third time. Perfect. Hold that smile. Naomi was being photographed for Business Innovators magazine. They were doing a feature story on entrepreneurs who'd overcome adversity to build successful companies. Her story had caught their attention. Tell me about the moment you decided to start your own business, the interviewer asked after the photo shoot. Naomi thought back to those dark days after the divorce. I was at my lowest point. Everything I'd built my identity around was gone. And I realized I had two choices. I could let that define me or I could define myself. I chose to define myself. The article would run in next month's issue. National exposure. More opportunities. More growth. As Naomi left the magazine's office, her phone rang. Felicia, her assistant. You're not going to believe this. Morrison Tech just called. They want to hire us for a complete brand overhaul. It's a 6-figure contract. Naomi stopped walking. Morrison Tech was huge. A Fortune 500 company. Landing them would put her firm on the map in a major way. Set up a meeting. Tomorrow if possible. That evening, Naomi celebrated with her team. They'd worked so hard to get here. 5 employees had become 15. Her small office had expanded to a full floor. Her revenue had tripled in the past year. Speech. Someone called out. Naomi stood, glass in hand. 4 years ago, I started this company with nothing but an idea and determination. You all have taken that idea and helped me build something incredible. We're not just a consulting firm. We're a family. We're a movement. We show people that transformation is possible. That success comes from authenticity and hard work. I'm proud of every single one of you. They toasted and cheered. Naomi looked around at these faces. Her team. People who believed in her vision and worked tirelessly to make it reality. This was success. Not just the money or the contracts, but building something meaningful with people she respected and trusted. The next morning, Naomi arrived at Morrison Tech's headquarters for the meeting. She pitched her vision for their brand, showing case studies and mock-ups. The executives listened intently, asking questions, taking notes. When can you start? The CEO asked. Immediately. They signed the contract that afternoon. Naomi walked out of the building feeling like she was floating. This was the biggest deal of her career. The kind of deal that changed everything. She called Tanya on the drive back to the office. I got it. The Morrison account. 6 figures. Tanya screamed so loud Naomi had to pull the phone away from her ear. I'm so proud of you. We're celebrating. Tonight. No excuses. That night at dinner, Tanya raised her glass. To my sister. Who took the worst thing that ever happened to her and turned it into the best thing. It didn't feel like the best thing at the time, Naomi admitted. It felt like the end of the world. But it wasn't the end. It was the beginning. You just couldn't see it yet. Naomi thought about that. The divorce had felt like death. The death of her marriage, her identity, her future. But really it had been birth. The birth of who she was always meant to be. Over the next few weeks, news of the Morrison contract spread. Other major companies started calling. Naomi was suddenly in demand. She had to turn down projects because her firm was at capacity. We need to hire more people, Felicia said during a staff meeting. We're getting too many offers. Then let's hire. Find the best people. We're growing. Naomi was also asked to speak at more events. Local organizations. National conferences. Even a TEDx talk about transformation and resilience. She said yes to everything she could. One evening after a speaking engagement, a young woman approached her. Miss Porter? I just wanted to thank you. I'm going through a divorce right now and feeling lost. But hearing you speak, it gave me hope. If you can rebuild your life like this, maybe I can too. Naomi took her hand. You absolutely can. It won't be easy, but it's possible. And it's worth it. She gave the woman her email and told her to reach out if she needed advice or support. This was why she shared her story. Not for attention or sympathy, but to help others see that pain didn't have to be permanent. The Business Innovator's article came out the following month. Her face was on the cover. From betrayal to billions, how one woman turned heartbreak into a thriving empire. The headline was dramatic, but the story was honest. They'd interviewed her extensively about the divorce, the struggle, the rebuilding. They'd also interviewed her clients and employees, who all spoke about her work ethic and vision. The article went viral. Suddenly, everyone wanted to work with her. Her social media following exploded. She got interview requests from news outlets and podcasts. And everywhere she went, people recognized her. You're Naomi Porter. I read your story. It was surreal. 4 years ago, she'd been invisible. Now she was everywhere. But success brought complications. One morning, she arrived at the office to find reporters outside. Miss Porter, is it true you're being courted by major venture capital firms? Miss Porter, what's your response to your ex-husband's bankruptcy filing? Cameron had filed for bankruptcy. His company was officially dead. Part of her felt a twinge of something. Not quite sadness. Maybe acknowledgement. He'd lost everything while she'd gained everything. I have no comment on my ex-husband's situation, she told the reporters. I wish him well, but we're not connected in any way. Inside the office, Felicia handed her a stack of messages. Cameron called 3 times this morning. He wants to talk to you. I'm not available. That's what I told him. He says it's urgent. Something about needing advice. Still not available. If he calls again, block the number. She wouldn't let him back into her life. Not now. Not ever. He'd made his choices. She'd made hers. And her choices had led to this success while his had led to failure. That afternoon, Naomi did an interview for a business podcast. They asked about her success, her strategy, her advice for other entrepreneurs. What would you say to someone who's going through a similar situation? The host asked. Someone who's lost everything and doesn't know how to start over? Naomi considered the question. I'd say that rock bottom is a solid foundation. When you have nothing left to lose, you have everything to gain. Use the pain as fuel. Let it drive you. But don't let it define you. You're more than your worst moment. You're more than what someone else did to you. You're capable of more than you know. The interview ended and Naomi sat in her car for a moment, reflecting on her own words. She believed them. She'd lived them. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Cameron had posted something on social media. His first post in months. Sometimes you don't realize what you had until it's gone. I hope it's not too late for second chances. Comments flooded in. Most people were supportive. Some told him to move on. A few tagged Naomi. She read the post once and kept scrolling. His hope for second chances had nothing to do with her. She'd given him 8 years of chances. All used up. That evening, Naomi worked late at the office, planning the Morrison project. Her team had left hours ago, but she liked the quiet. It helped her think. Around 9 there was a knock on the glass door. She looked up to see Cameron standing outside. She considered ignoring him. But curiosity got the better of her. She opened the door. What are you doing here? I saw your lights on. I was in the area. No, you weren't. You came here specifically. Why? You look terrible. Thinner. Exhausted. Defeated. I need help. Not money. Just advice. You know the business world. You know how to rebuild. I thought maybe. No. You didn't even let me finish. I don't need to. The answer is no. I'm not helping you rebuild. I'm not giving you advice. I'm not consulting for you. I'm done. Naomi, I'm losing everything. I lost everything 4 years ago. I figured it out. So can you? It's different. How? How is it different? Because you're a man? Because you built it first? You lost what you lost because of your choices. Just like I lost what I lost because of yours. The difference is I chose to rebuild. You're choosing to stay stuck. That's not fair. You got investment money. Because I worked for it. Because I built something worth investing in. I didn't wait for someone to save me. I saved myself. She stepped back inside and started closing the door. Wait, please. Just tell me how you did it. How did you go from nothing to this? He gestured at her office. Naomi paused. I stopped waiting for permission. I stopped thinking I needed someone else to complete me. I bet on myself. That's it. That's the secret. But the practical steps. The practical steps are work. Every single day. No shortcuts. No easy answers. Just consistent, dedicated work toward a goal. You know how to do that. You built a company before. You can do it again. Just not with my help. She closed the door and locked it. Through the glass, she saw him stand there for a long moment before walking away. She felt nothing. No guilt. No sympathy. No regret. Just peace. This was her life now. Her success. Her future. And it was better than anything she'd imagined. Naomi walked into the restaurant and immediately spotted him. Tall, kind eyes, easy smile. Julian Hayes. They'd met at a business conference 3 months ago and had been talking ever since. You look amazing, he said, standing to greet her. Thank you. She felt nervous, which was strange. She'd negotiated million-dollar deals without breaking a sweat, but a date made her stomach flip. They'd been taking things slow. Coffee meetings. Lunch conversations. Lots of texts and phone calls. Tonight was their first official dinner date. How was your day? Julian asked as they sat down. Busy. Good busy. We just signed another major client. That's fantastic. Your company is really taking off. Julian understood the business world. He ran his own investment firm and had built it from the ground up. He got the long hours, the stress, the satisfaction of creating something from nothing. But more than that, he was kind. He asked questions and actually listened to the answers. He remembered details from previous conversations. He treated her like an equal, not a conquest or a prize. "What about you?" Naomi asked. "How was your day?" They talked easily, the conversation flowing naturally from business to books to travel plans. Naomi found herself relaxing, laughing, enjoying the moment. "Can I ask you something?" Julian said later, over dessert. "Of course. Your ex-husband. Are you over him? Really over him?" The question didn't offend her. It was fair. Completely. "I don't love him. I don't hate him. I just don't feel anything for him anymore." "Good. Because I'm not interested in competing with a ghost." "You're not. That chapter is closed. Then I'd like to open a new chapter. With you. If you're interested." Naomi smiled. "I'm interested." They started dating officially. Julian was patient with her trust issues. He never pushed. Never demanded. Never made her feel like she owed him anything. He met Tanya, who approved immediately. "This one's different. He looks at you like you're amazing." "Cameron used to look at me," Naomi said. "No. Cameron looked at what you did for him. Julian looks at you. There's a difference." There was a difference. Julian valued her for who she was, not what she provided. He celebrated her success without feeling threatened. He encouraged her ambitions without trying to control them. 3 months into their relationship, Julian accompanied her to a business gala. Walking in with him felt different than all those events she'd attended with Cameron. Julian was proud to be with her. He introduced her as the brilliant Naomi Porter, and meant it. "You're glowing," Gabrielle said, cornering Naomi by the bar. "I haven't seen you this happy in ever actually." "I feel happy. Really happy. Not just content or successful. Actually happy. That's what the right person does. They add to your joy, not take from it." Halfway through the evening, Naomi saw Cameron across the room. She'd heard he was trying to rebuild, starting a new venture. He looked better than he had months ago. Healthier. More put together. He saw her and Julian together. Saw how Julian's hand rested comfortably on her back. Saw how she leaned into him while laughing. Saw what he'd lost. Cameron started walking toward them. Julian felt Naomi tense. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "That's my ex-husband. Want me to run interference?" "No. I can handle it." Cameron approached with a forced smile. "Naomi, you look well." "Thank you." "Cameron, this is Julian Hayes." "Julian, Cameron Bennett." They shook hands. The tension was obvious. "I heard about your new venture," Naomi said politely. "I hope it works out." "Thanks. It's slow going, but I'm trying." He looked at Julian. "You're a lucky man." "I know," Julian said simply. "Naomi is remarkable. I didn't appreciate that when I should have." "I appreciate it now," Julian responded. There was no hostility in his voice, just fact. Cameron looked at Naomi. "I meant what I said before. About being sorry. About realizing too late what I had. I know you did. And I accepted your apology. But that doesn't change anything. We've both moved on. I hope you find what you're looking for." "I already found it. I just couldn't keep it." "Then find it again. With someone else. Someone new. But stop looking back. It's not healthy." Cameron nodded slowly. "You're right. I need to let go." He looked at Julian. "Take care of her. She deserves the best." "I plan to," Julian said. After Cameron walked away, Julian turned to Naomi. "You okay?" "Yeah, I am. That was actually kind of final. Like closing a book I've been meaning to finish. No regrets. None. I have everything I want right here." Over the next few months, Naomi's relationship with Julian deepened. They traveled together, worked together sometimes, built a life together. But it was different from her marriage to Cameron. There was balance, partnership, mutual respect. Julian never made her feel small. He never dismissed her ideas or took her support for granted. He was her biggest cheerleader and her most honest critic. He pushed her to be better while loving her as she was. Meanwhile, Naomi's business continued to thrive. She opened a second office, hired more staff, launched new services. She was living her dream, building an empire, making a difference. She also continued mentoring women going through divorces. She started a program called Rise Again that offered free consulting services to women rebuilding their lives after betrayal. It was her way of paying forward the support she'd received. One evening, she came home to find Julian cooking dinner in her apartment. He'd moved in 3 months ago and it felt natural. "Right. I have something to ask you," he said, setting down the spatula. "Okay." I love you. I love your ambition, your strength, your kindness. I love who you are and who you're becoming. I want to build a life with you. A real partnership where we both grow and thrive. He pulled out a ring box. Naomi Porter, will you marry me? Naomi's breath caught. Marriage. The institution that had destroyed her once. But this was different. Julian was different. Yes, she said. Yes, I'll marry you. They kissed, and Naomi felt something she hadn't felt in years. Complete. Not because Julian completed her. She'd already completed herself. But because he enhanced her life without controlling it. The engagement news spread quickly. Congratulations poured in from friends, family, clients. Naomi's social media filled with well wishes and excitement. Cameron saw the news. He sent a single text that Naomi read before deleting. Congratulations. I mean that. You deserve happiness. I'm sorry I couldn't give it to you. She didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. That weekend, Naomi and Julian celebrated with close friends. Tanya pulled her aside. You did it. You rebuilt everything and then some. I couldn't have done it without you. Without everyone who supported me. No. You did this. We just cheered you on. You made the choice to get back up. That was all you. Naomi looked around the room. At Julian, who loved her without conditions. At Tanya, who'd never left her side. At Gabrielle and other friends who'd become family. At the life she'd built from nothing. She thought about the woman she'd been 4 years ago. Broken. Lost. Certain she'd never be happy again. That woman would be amazed at who she'd become. What are you thinking about? Julian asked, coming up behind her. How far I've come. How different everything is now. Better different? So much better. I wouldn't change anything. Even the pain. Because it led me here. To this life. To you. I'm glad it led you to me too. They kissed and Naomi felt gratitude wash over her. Not just for Julian. But for the journey. For the strength she'd discovered. For the life she'd built. She'd survived the worst betrayal imaginable and come out stronger. She'd turned pain into purpose. She'd built success from scratch. And now she was ready for the next chapter. One written on her terms. One filled with love, success, and joy. The best was yet to come. 5 years after the divorce. 5 years of building, growing, thriving. Tonight, Naomi stood in a ballroom filled with hundreds of people, all here to celebrate her company's 5th anniversary. Porter Consulting had become a household name in the business world. 3 offices across the country. 50 employees. Millions in annual revenue. She'd done it. She'd built the empire she dreamed of. The ballroom was beautiful. Elegant without being stuffy. Modern without being cold. Just like Naomi's brand. Julian had helped plan the event, bringing in the best caterers and decorators. Everything was perfect. Speech time, Felicia announced, handing Naomi a microphone. Naomi took the stage, looking out at the crowd. Clients who'd trusted her. Employees who'd worked tirelessly. Friends who'd supported her. Family who'd never doubted her. 5 years ago, I started this company with nothing but a laptop and a dream, she began. I was rebuilding my life after a devastating loss. I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if anyone would take a chance on me. But you did. She gestured to the crowd. You hired me when I was nobody. You trusted me with your brands, your businesses, your dreams. You worked beside me when we were small. You stayed with me as we grew. This success isn't mine. It's ours. The crowd applauded. Naomi felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them back. I also want to talk about what this company represents. It's not just about marketing and consulting. It's about transformation. About showing people that endings can be beginnings. That failure can be fuel. That who you are isn't defined by what happened to you, but by what you do next. She looked at the women in the room, particularly those who'd gone through her Rise Again program. To everyone who's ever felt broken, who's ever thought they couldn't rebuild, who's ever believed their best days were behind them. I'm proof that you can rise again. You can be stronger. You can be happier. You can be successful beyond your wildest dreams. But it starts with choosing yourself. The applause was deafening. People were standing, cheering. Naomi felt overwhelmed with gratitude and pride. As she stepped off the stage, Julian was waiting. He'd been standing to the side, watching with obvious admiration. That was beautiful, he said. I meant every word. I know you did. That's why I love you. The party continued with music, dancing, and celebration. Naomi mingled with guests, thanking people personally for their support. She took photos with clients and employees. She laughed and danced and enjoyed every moment. Around 10 o'clock, Julian asked her to step outside onto the terrace. The city lights twinkled below them, and music floated through the open doors. "I wanted a private moment," he said. "Before I do this in front of everyone." "Do what?" He got down on one knee even though they were already engaged. Even though she was already wearing his ring. People on the terrace gasped and started gathering around. "Naomi Porter, 5 years ago you were rebuilding your life. I watched you from a distance, amazed by your strength and determination. Then 3 years ago I finally got to meet you. 2 years ago you said yes to being my wife. Tonight, in front of all these people who love you, I want to ask you again. Will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life supporting your dreams, celebrating your wins, and loving you unconditionally?" Tears were streaming down Naomi's face now. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." He slid a new ring onto her finger, alongside the engagement ring. An eternity band covered in diamonds. "I had this made special. It represents your journey. Every diamond is a triumph. Every stone is a moment you chose yourself. You're incredible and I'm honored to be yours." They kissed while everyone cheered. Someone inside the ballroom must have noticed because the entire party seemed to pour onto the terrace to congratulate them. Tanya was crying and hugging Naomi tight. "My baby sister is getting her happy ending." "It's not an ending," Naomi said. "It's another beginning." The party went late into the night. Around midnight, as things were winding down, Naomi stood by the terrace railing with Julian, watching the last few guests leave. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "About how different my life is now. 5 years ago I was at my lowest. I couldn't imagine ever being happy again. And now, look at all this. You built this. Every bit of it. We built this. You helped me. No. You built it. I just got to be here to see it happen. That's my privilege." Naomi leaned into him, feeling content. "Do you know what the best revenge is?" "What?" "Living well. Being happy. Building something beautiful. Cameron destroyed our marriage, but he couldn't destroy me. I took that pain and turned it into purpose. I took that ending and made it a beginning. That's the best revenge. Not his suffering. My happiness." "Speaking of Cameron, what about him?" "I heard he's doing better. Started a small business. It's not like before, but he's stable." "Good. I genuinely hope he finds his way. Just not with me." Julian laughed. "Not a chance. You're all mine. Yours, but also still mine. That's the difference. I belong to myself first. That makes belonging to you better." They stayed on the terrace for a while longer, talking about their wedding plans and future dreams. Naomi wanted a small ceremony. Intimate. Just close friends and family. She'd done the big wedding before. This time she wanted meaning over spectacle. "What about a honeymoon?" Julian asked. "Italy. I've always wanted to go. Cameron and I were supposed to go for our 5th anniversary, but he canceled to focus on his business. Then Italy it is. We'll go everywhere you've ever wanted to go." Later, in their apartment, Naomi stood in front of the mirror taking off her jewelry. She looked at her reflection. Confident. Strong. Happy. She barely recognized the broken woman from 5 years ago. That woman had thought her life was over. She'd thought she'd never trust again, never love again, never be whole again. But here she was. Thriving. Engaged to a man who truly loved her. Running a successful company. Making a difference. Living her best life. Her phone buzzed. An email. She almost ignored it, but something made her look. It was from Cameron. "I saw the news about your engagement. Congratulations. Julian is a lucky man. I also heard about your anniversary party. 5 years. That's amazing. I want you to know that I'm doing better now. I started a small consulting business. Nothing like yours, but it's honest work. I'm in therapy. I'm learning to deal with my mistakes. I'm trying to be better. Not for you. You've moved on and you should. But for myself. I'm finally dealing with the person I became. I just wanted you to know that seeing you succeed, seeing you happy, it taught me something. It taught me that people can change if they choose to. I wasted my chance with you. I know that. But I'm not going to waste my second chance at life. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like. I hope you have a beautiful wedding and an even more beautiful life. You deserve it. Take care. Cameron." Naomi read the email twice. Then she closed it without responding. She didn't need to respond. He wasn't asking for anything. He was just letting her know he'd finally learned his lesson. She hoped he had. Not for herself. She was past needing his growth for closure. But for whoever came into his life next. They deserved better than the man he'd been. Julian came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. Everything okay? Everything's perfect. She meant it. Her life was perfect, not because it was flawless, but because it was hers. Built by her hands on her terms according to her vision. The girl who'd sat in a restaurant 4.5 years ago, reading betrayal on a phone screen, would be so proud of who she'd become. That girl had thought her world was ending. She couldn't have known it was just beginning. Naomi turned to Julian and kissed him. Let's go to bed. We have a whole future to plan tomorrow. Just tomorrow? I thought we had forever. We do. But forever starts with tomorrow. One day at a time. That's how I rebuilt my life. That's how we'll build ours. They went to bed and Naomi fell asleep feeling grateful. For the pain that had made her stronger. For the betrayal that had freed her. For the ending that had become the best beginning of her life. 5 years ago, Cameron had destroyed their marriage. But in doing so, he'd accidentally set her free to become who she was always meant to be. And that woman was magnificent. She'd taken nothing and built everything. She'd taken heartbreak and created happiness. She'd taken an ending and made it a triumphant beginning. This was her revenge. Not his suffering. But her absolute, undeniable, beautiful joy. And it was the sweetest revenge of all.